Among those that walk the earth, there are a chosen few who take the art of ear tip selection very seriously. They search the land for the finest tips to insert into their ears, and like a reverse Excalibur, find the one ear tip to rule them all. We call these people tip rollers. Well, these are the Spinfits, and they are the new hotness in the very exclusive and exciting world of aftermarket IEM ear tips. The creators of the Spin Tips claim that thanks to an innovative design that allows the silicon flange to rotate around 360 degrees, the Spinfits will feel more comfortable, give you a better seal, better noise isolation, and better sound. Well, have I got a tip for you? Well, you're watching Lachlan Likes a Thing, and let's find out. Ear tips might seem like a somewhat esoteric subject for a video, but honestly, ear tips can make a surprising difference to the way an earphone sounds. Now, as you can imagine from last week's Fostex T50RP video, it's somewhat analogous to the impact of pad swapping on full-sized headphones. Now, most IEMs rely on having a good seal with people's ears to deliver good bass response and good noise isolation. And quite often, you won't get this seal with stock ear tips because the rubber is poor quality or they just don't work with your ears. I've never been a big fan of the commonly suggested solution, which is foam ear tips, because I find foam ear tips kind of fussy to insert. They tend to change the sound in ways that I don't like, and they are kind of fragile. Instead, I've always gravitated towards Sony hybrid ear tips because I can get a good seal with them, particularly in the green medium size. They're made of a comfortable, high quality silicon, and they generally tend to make the sound of an earphone a little warmer, a little bassier, and a little smoother up top, which I tend to prefer. Well, here are the Spinfits, and you can almost call them a hybrid of Sony's hybrid design, because just like with the Sonys, they have a hard inner silicon tube, but at the end of the tube, the flange is articulated in such a way that it allows the flange to flex in all directions. Now let me point out something that should be obvious to you now. The Spinfits do not actually spin. They do not rotate 360 degrees. Do not attempt to rotate them 360 degrees because they will break. And that would be bad because these ear tips are expensive. These sell for 35 Australian dollars for 4 pieces at Minidisc. Do not spin them no matter how tempted you may be to do so. You may instead diddle them, like so. I suppose Spinfits are called Spinfits because freely articulating flange ear tip doesn't have the same kind of ring to it. But that aside, the idea of this articulating flange is that you get better wearing comfort and a better seal because they bend with your inner ear, and this will in turn bring better noise isolation and better sound. So, do they work? To try and get a feel for what the Spinfits do for earphones, I tried them with a large number of earphones from my collection. So there are 2 types of Spinfits. There's the CP100, which is designed to fit on wider nozzles, and basically anything that fits a Sony hybrid tip will fit a CP100. And then there is the CP800 variety, which is designed to fit around narrower nozzles, particularly for things like Shure earphones or etymotic earphones. Now, since I have earphones that have both types of nozzles, I bought both the CP800 and the CP100. They also come in different sizes as well. I got the medium size, which is apparently about 12 millimeter. Yep, 12 millimeter, which is equivalent to a Sony hybrid in medium green. Now here's just a few combinations to give you an idea of how the Spinfits might work with your IEMs. Let's start with the ever popular Shure SE215. The SE215 is an earphone which I think has a somewhat congested, dark sound, but they have an enduring popularity because they're comfortable, they have a negative profile design so you can sleep on them, and they have high noise isolation at a pretty reasonable price point. You can see that the aperture of the Spinfit is a lot wider than the stock Shure silicon tip, so you would expect it to sound different, and I'm happy to report that it does. It's not a night and day difference, but the small change makes the SE215 sound less congested. It helps tighten up the bass and brings in more detail in the highs. Now, interestingly, the overall volume of the earphone seems to drop with the Spinfits. I don't really know why that's happening, but they're a lot more comfortable with the Spinfit since the stock silicon is quite hard and puts some pressure in your inner ear. Now, I'm really happy to recommend to owners of the SE215 to try these out because they make for a small but welcome improvement in the sound. Next up, how are the Spinfits with the venerable Sony EX1000? Now, in collector's terms, this is probably the most prized IEM in my collection. But as I've said before, while I think the EX1000 is a unique and at times stunning sounding earphone, it has a nasal tone in the highs and a treble spikes that make cymbals sound like sharp, kind of splashy messes. Now with the Spinfits, the EX1000 sounds marginally smoother, and I think this is because the articulating flange compensates for the EX1000's awkward insertion angle, and so they ensure you get a proper seal. Now these are a lot more comfortable as a result, but again, it's not a huge change and not something that really changes the fundamental character of this earphone. How about the Spinfits with a fully sealed balanced armature design like the Audio-Technica ATH IMO 2? Now these are my daily driver earphones. They have a wider nozzle that is actually slightly oversized for the Sony hybrids. So likewise with the Spinfits, you have to stretch them a bit to get them onto the IMO 2. Now with the Spinfits, you get a pretty dramatic change in the sound of the IMO 2. The Spinfits remove some of the mid bass and bring in more treble, and that makes the IMO 2 sound more detailed and punchier, but less smooth. I think with the Spinfits, you probably actually get closer to the intended stock sound of the IMO 2, but I'm sort of undecided about the change. I really like the new detail, but at the same time, the Spinfits take away some of the easygoing, kind of forgiving, smooth nature of the IMO 2 that I'm used to, and they make everything sound a bit crispier and more aggressive. Lastly, here's the new VSonic VSD5S, which I just got in for review a few days ago. The VSD5S is an example of an earphone where the stock tips simply don't seal for me at all, but the Spinfits compared with the hybrids make for a slightly confusing comparison. The hybrid tips are bassier, while the Spinfits actually seem to increase the overall amount of treble, but at the same time, they seem to smooth out the VSD5S's aggressive treble peak. So the hybrid tips make the VSD5S sound kind of more V-shaped, while the Spinfits overall sound a bit more neutral, and I prefer the Spinfits. So as you can probably tell, the Spinfits are not a one-size-fits-all solution. They seem to do different things for different earphones, and I think that's because, just like with any ear tip or any ear pad, the Spinfits have their own effect on the way air is kind of damped between the driver and your eardrum. You might have to go out on a limb and get a pair of these just to experiment with, because I can't recommend them as an automatic upgrade to your IEM. And in that sense, I guess they're not as revolutionary as Spinfit claims. But I'll say this, I never found the Spinfits to obviously degrade the sound of any earphone I tried them with, and in many cases they made for a nice improvement over Sony hybrids in terms of treble detail. Most positively, the Spinfits were consistently more comfortable with all my earphones, and I can say that in terms of getting a seal and wearing comfort, the articulating flange is a really good idea. So for that reason, after this review, I'm going to go out and buy a few more pairs of them. Now, if you're pretty happy with your existing IEM, but there's just something a little bit missing in terms of sound or comfort, then I say there's no harm in trying the Spinfits. At least after a little experimentation, you can call yourself a true tip roller.
Tip rollers.
If you have tried the Spinfits with your own earphones, then why not leave a pro tip in the comments about your findings? And also, if you've been waiting for me to look at some more kind of value price gear, you're in luck because I just got these two things in. This is upside down. This is the Sennheiser 4 HD 471i that I got on sale. And this is the aforementioned VSD5S. So let me know in the comments which one you'd like to see me review first. Remember to like and subscribe, and as always, happy listening.